everyone, and welcome to Lattes on My Mind. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Felina.
Felina, what are we going to be talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about the Muse brothers.
Oh, so grab your lattes and join us for the journey.
Hannah.
What's up?
It has been a week.
A week. You started out great.
So great. I was sick on Monday.
Yep.
So that was fun.
Then I was in the office crying. No,
yeah. I'm just that wonderful.
Yes.
And then I had to make up hours. So I was working like 9 hours every day. And then I still had to put in PTO.
Either that or going on a weekend and
or go in this morning. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I need a break. Especially.
Oops. My specialty.
Because baby girl, little Miss Suki girl.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know or might have missed an episode or two, I got a puppy.
Yes, you did.
She is peeing everywhere.
Oh, she's peeing now?
Everywhere.
Little pee pants?
Little Miss Pee
She
Bottoms.
probably can't like hold her water yet. She doesn't probably realize how much.
Well, here's the thing. And listen, before you come for me, I have potty trained dogs before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not been like this.
Oh, really?
We'll take her to the bathroom and she'll go to the bathroom and then we'll wait and then she'll go a couple times and then we'll bring her in and then 10 minutes later she's peed on the floor twice.
Okay, so she's just, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like she doesn't have free reign to water. Like, obviously we're giving her enough water, but like it's not like, she's just going in and immediately drinking a bunch of water.
Right.
Like, no, she's not doing that. We'll give her water here and there, and then we'll watch her and then take her out. You know, like we give her water, we just don't give her free access like we do our other animals.
I mean, she's learning.
If not, she's going to pee everywhere all the time. But yeah,
My gosh.
she's been peeing everywhere.
And then I have the UTI dog.
And then you have a UTI dog
Which
who also pees everywhere.
Yeah. Well, apparently she's okay. Apparently they said there were a few crystals, whatever they call. Sorry if this is gross for anyone listening, but apparently they're like a few scattered ones, but like everything else came back like negative. So
That's
like,
good,
we
though.
think that it.
That's like,
I'm just
praise
waiting to
God.
come back. I know, but this has been 3 rounds, guys, of antibiotics.
Yeah.
So Suki best not be getting. No, they can't get a. Do they get it that young? Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I don't think she has a UTI.
Right. I'm like, no,
I think
please.
she's just a puppy
Right.
with a very small bladder and something's not clicking.
Yeah.
So if you have any potty training tips for dogs, let me know because she'll literally pee 4 times outside and then lay down in the grass. Like we walk around with her until she's literally like disinterested.
Right.
And we don't interact with her other than telling her to go potty and then giving her a treat for going potty. Like,
What do you think yeah.
and she gets a treat every time she goes outside, and then she doesn't get a treat if she comes inside. If she goes inside, then we have to take her back out.
Right. She peed on my desk. Did we tell you guys that?
Oh.
It was so funny.
And she did it with a vengeance.
It was so funny because I mean she's super small, so sometimes we'll like put her up on the desk at work.
Yeah,
because she likes to lay on it because I think it's like cool.
Yeah, sometimes she demands to be put on the desk at work.
Yeah, and so she was just exploring. We're like, whatever, because she's like super tiny. It's fine, right? And then she kind of tried to like do like her little puppy like bite, Yeah. And I said because that's like what Felina does.
Yeah, it's no ma'am.
Yeah,
because she doesn't know no ma'am yet, but she the gets her attention.
And so I do that, trying to be like, okay, I'm taking control of the situation so she doesn't, get in a bad habit. And then she looks up at me and then just squats.
Starts peeing. And usually when we say, no, and then we pick her up, she stops peeing.
Yeah.
But girl, Hannah picked her up and she just kept on going.
I'll teach you.
She said, yeah, that's right. Hold me while I pee on your desk.
Right. I was like, oh, okay. We were both just like, well.
But we didn't want to move her because she wasn't stopping peeing.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to get it everywhere.
I was like, I'm not going to drag her over my lunchbox right now. I'm just going to let her do her thing.
I was like, I'm so sorry.
That's so funny. She's a funny little thing.
She's a sassy little thing, let me tell you. I love her to death. Don't get me wrong.
She's a puppy.
But she needs to stop peeing on everything.
Yeah. But she's a puppy, yeah.
Listen, we should just invest in paper towel stock because it's
we
going
got
up.
Big ones from, we had some. We got a lot last time because, well, I mean, because I cleaned so I run out.
Yeah. Sam's Club Pac-Man.
Right.
All the way.
I wish I had a Sam's Club membership.
Girl, let's go.
Let's go. Oh, do you have one?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still yours.
Let's go. I had two at one point.
Oh, what?
One with Jonathan and one me and Marshall got one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it expensive?
It's not too bad.
It's not too bad.
If you think about it. Like,
because like a yearly?
Yeah. It's really not
I'm
too
about
bad.
to burp. Sorry.
Go for it.
No, I'm good now.
Because if you think about it, like anytime, like you can use it on gas or you can use it, and it's usually cheaper at Sam's. It's nice.
Right.
Every time I'm going on a road trip, I go.
It is cheap there.
Hit up a Sam's Club. But you know who couldn't hit up a Sam's Club
and shouldn't hit up a Sam's Club? Or no. Sorry, I totally messed that up.
You know
say
who
that reason.
couldn't set up, but you know who couldn't hit up a Sam's Club?
Who?
George and Willie Muse.
Who are they?
The Muse brothers.
The Muse brothers.
So they were, just a little bit of backstory. They were born in Truvine, Virginia.
Oh, Virginia.
Yeah.
My Virginia boys.
Yeah. To Harriet and Cable. Cable. Cabell. Muse.
That
I
sounds
don't
like
know how to.
Cable.
Yeah.
Maybe Cabell
Cabell.
or Cable.
Yeah, something like
Either way,
that.
Cable is kind of a cool name.
It is. But also Cable. Like a cable.
Yeah, that's true. But if you don't think about it like that,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So they were born to those two, Harriet and Cable. Muse. Their grandparents were slaves.
Okay.
They were born in a lot of things are like they were the albino twins. They weren't twins. Willie was born in 1892 and George was born in 1893. So they were like Irish twins, I guess, but they weren't twins.
But they were known as like the twins.
A lot of people, when you're researching, will be like, they're twin brothers who were albino.
Oh.
Yeah. And a fun fact, this just blew my mind, and this maybe is skipping ahead, but whatever. George died in 1971 to unknown complications.
1971?
Yeah, 1893 to 1971. And then Willie, who was born in 1892, lived until 2001 he died at the age of 108.
He was alive when we were born.
He was alive when we were born.
Isn't that insane? Like when you think of the history of it all.
And then even after.
My God.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like 7.
108 years old, dude.
Holy
and
crap.
when you realize what all he like lived through, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. The changes he saw, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dang.
They had a brother and a sister
Oh.
as well. I'm not sure if they were older or younger or whatever.
Right.
But they were not albino.
Okay.
So they're,
Were either of their parents albino?
not that I could find.
Okay.
No. But their family was sharecropping farmers, so like tobacco farmers.
Right.
They were living in poverty. And George and Willie, like, obviously they helped out on the farm. And they were basically pest control. They would walk the fields and look for any like pests or insects that would be like eating the tobacco plants. Basically,
I wouldn't like
and
that
then they'd
job.
kill them. But it's very tedious labor.
Yeah, because like they didn't have like the spray or whatever. They just go and they had to kill it. Like just kill it. Just like
well, tobacco farming in general is tedious labor.
Yeah.
Like especially at the time. I mean, it was like the 1800s.
The 1800s.
So, the late 1800s, but you know,
Yeah.
like probably the 1900s by the time they were like
I mean,
doing that. But
I think gardening is tedious in itself, and lots
Right.
of people find it like relaxing. But I'm like, it makes me mad.
it's rewarding whenever
is.
you're like gardening something
Yeah.
that's like
You grow it.
like we're growing okra.
Yeah.
And we just found our first little okras
you're like,
popping through and we're like, "Oh my gosh."
Right.
But they had to work because they were like they needed the money. They had to work regardless of the weather conditions.
Gosh.
And they had to wear like these long layers to protect themselves from the sun because they are albino.
Yeah.
And so basically albinism,
I think it's
something,
albinism.
however you say it. I am not a medical professional. It's basically like a lack of pigment.
Right.
You have like really pale blue eyes. It has other health issues. The sun really like affects you, and you really have to be careful. You can get like skin cancer and stuff like that. You have weakening vision. So that's just a little bit of their backstory. I feel like I'm talking really quiet. I don't know why.
Oh,
maybe it's because the microphone's more in my face. We're trying out a different
setup. Well, not setup, but like we're looking at each other like more.
It's nice. I can actually look up and make eye contact with her without having to turn my head. So we're gonna get into. They were abducted.
Oh my gosh.
George and Willie were. They got abducted. Hannah also knows nothing about this. I really kept it under wraps.
You did. Well, I didn't know anything about it previously, which sometimes I'm like, oh, I know a little bit about that subject. But like, I didn't even know when you said the Muse brothers to me, like who they were.
Right. Because usually we'll like find something because we're looking at stuff together. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that. That's an interesting topic. But this one, my mom, shout out mom, she sent it to me. Oh. She sent like a Facebook post that was like a brief history of the Muse brothers.
Like, this is a crazy history. Have you done this?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to get into, they were abducted, okay? In 1899, they were ages 6 and 9.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They were working in the fields now at 8 and 9?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
They had to.
Right.
6 and 9.
6 and 9, sorry.
Yeah, okay, that's another thing that confused me, guys, is one of the sources said they were twins. The other of the sources was like they were born in like 1893 and 1892, so they should be a year apart, but then they were abducted. Everything else was like they were abducted at ages 6 and 9. Even the sources that said they were twins said they were abducted at ages 6 and 9. And so I'm like, they were born sometime in the 1890s.
Okay, we got it. They're not twins, they're close in age enough.
Yeah, basically. So there's 2 different stories.
Okay.
On the abduction. The first story that I'm going to tell you is they're very similar stories, but the first one it's like the most well known. It's the one that like everybody tells.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is passed on by the families, the other Black families in the area, as a cautionary tale to the kids in the area.
Don't go out.
Yeah. And that was basically that a freak hunter, which is a fun name, but
not a fun thing.
Horrible job. You kind of have to be a
messed up human
interesting human. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna say messed up human being.
So a freak hunter, basically they work for the circus and they go around and they try to find freak shows or potential freak shows that they could take back to the circus to make a profit for the circus. Dang. Or to sell to like they can manage, in this particular case, they can manage the freak shows and sell them to certain circuses and then get them back once that season's over and sell them to a different circus. Yeah.
Gosh.
So that, yeah. So like a bearded lady, someone like that would be a freak hunter would look for a bearded lady or 2 albino brothers, something like that. So the story goes that a freak hunter found the boys working the fields and he kidnapped them from the fields. And how he did that was he lured them with candy and then he told them that like back to his wagon or whatever and told them that their mother had died.
What?
Yeah. And that man is James Shelton. He's later known as Candy Shelton.
Because of this?
Mm-hmm.
Is this how he did it all the time? Or
I don't
it just
know
like in this instance?
Yeah, I don't know how he did it.
Man, it sounds like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or something like that.
Yeah, so...
The child catcher with the candy? I don't know if you remember that. That's a deep, dark memory of mine. If any of you have seen Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, it's so scary. I don't know if you've ever
I've not seen it, no.
It's so scary. It's like a classic.
But I mean, it's like, don't accept candy from strangers.
Right, don't do that.
Yeah.
So that's why they say that.
Yeah.
That's like a don't. If someone comes up in a wagon or a van with candy, don't go with them.
Don't go with them. Yeah. So that was the story, basically, that the families in the area had passed on to the children as a cautionary tale, which rightfully so. We'll get into it later, but it wasn't a very safe place for Black people in Virginia at this time. So the other story is that Harriet Muse, the boy's brother, after their dad passed away, which I don't know how their dad passed away.
The brother was Harriet?
Harriet was their mother.
Oh, okay. I thought you said brother.
If I did, I'm sorry.
I was like, wait, I thought their mom was Harriet.
So Harriet Muse lent the boys, not like sold them, but was basically Shelton, Candy Shelton, approached the mom and was like, hey, I work for the circus. We think your boys would be great in an act. We would pay you for them. basically, and she was like, I could use the extra money. We're dying out here. You know, we'd have no money. So she lent the boys to Shelton for a couple months of work at the circus for extra money.
So like they're working, why not like send them to get more?
Right. Like, oh, well, this could be good because they'll be able to come home. We'll be able to see them, and then they can go out and have fun. You know, circuses were huge at this. Like, they were really big at this time. So it's like, oh, how fun, you know? So she was probably thinking they could go have fun and get all these experiences and then come home. Yeah. And then we also get a little extra cash.
They probably didn't realize, like, it's not actually, like, the circus then was, like, actually, like, oh my gosh, like, so bad. Like, they probably just thought it was...
Yeah, but nobody shed light on that aspect of it until later.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, no one. Yeah. It was just like, whatever, that's normal. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah. So she was like, why not? Which also, side note, the fact that they were both born albino is like very rare.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not twins, I would think. Mm-hmm. Like, if they're actually like the 3 years apart and they're both born albino.
Yeah. It was really rare. But so basically she expected them to return after a couple of months.
Right.
And a couple months passed and she had no word of the boys' return. She hadn't seen them. She hadn't heard from Shelton. And then a couple more months passed by and she was like, I'm going to the police. And she went to the police. They didn't take her seriously. Because of course. And then she even went to the Humane Society and they didn't take her seriously.
What the heck?
Mm-hmm. And then she basically realized, hey, too much time has passed. And she kind of accepted, my sons are gone for good. I'm never going to see them again. Yeah. They're gone. Which is...
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That's so sad. Like, thinking you're trying to just, like, support your family and... Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I know.
That's really sad.
Which, like, I think that's the actual story. Like, because we'll get into why later. Okay. But I think that's the more probable story.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, Shelton managed the boys, which meant he sold them to the circus, got them back, took them to the circus, got them back, took them to this. You know, like, that's basically what he did. And he sold them back and forth for years. He knew so little about them that at one point he just handed them a bunch of instruments and found out that Willie could play any song on any instrument, only hearing the song once.
So he's a prodigy.
Yeah.
What the heck?
George also could play any instrument, but he couldn't like do it. He couldn't play any song after only hearing it once, but he could play any instrument.
He's like, I can do this. What?
And he was like, what in the world? And the boys always credited like their gifts, their musical abilities to God. And they also like maintained their faith throughout their lives, which...
Bless them.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had it.
People were awful.
They had it bad. Like Shelton wouldn't even let them go to school. He wouldn't educate them at all. He wouldn't let them continue to learn how to read or write or anything. So the fact that they were able to maintain their faith, more power to them. They performed with many circuses, but the two most prominent were the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey.
Okay, yeah. Those are like the biggest ones, right?
Yeah. So they were paid, some sources said they were paid, never paid. And then other things said they were paid very little or just enough to pay for the clothes for the circus.
Even though he like promised the mom that they would be sending money back?
He never sent money back.
Oh, so he was lying. Yeah, of course.
He never sent money back. He just wanted
I'm surprised that he even talked to her. So he like went and talked to her and then kidnapped them or something?
Well, he still kidnapped them. So like he went and talked to her and they came to an agreement and then he never gave them back. So they're kidnapped.
So he went to her like, oh, I'm going to like take them. And then he like went and like appeared to them and said she's dead and kidnapped them essentially. Okay.
Yeah. She was like, I need them back in a couple of months, you know, but and then he went and he lured them with candy. He still lured them with candy.
Right.
And then told them that their mother had died.
Right.
And that they were coming with him. But yeah, so the boys themselves, and nothing was ever sent back to the mother. The boys themselves, some sources said they were never paid. Other sources said they were paid just enough for clothes.
Okay.
What about the circus? I mean, they were fed. They fed everybody.
But like, probably.
Yeah. This is astonishing because at the height of their career, they brought in $32,000 a day.
Oh my God. Gosh, in that time?
which today, I looked it up, in today's
yeah
economy, it would be $1,104,791.21
a day.
a day.
Holy crap!
And they weren't
seeing any of that. They weren't paid at all.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So someone in 1946 wrote a letter to the FBI. I don't know who wrote this letter. They couldn't read or write, so I don't know what that's about. I don't know if it was
Sorry, I'm just like
1946.
46.
So they were abducted in 1899 and in 1946. Yeah. Someone wrote a letter to the FBI, and it said that they were being forced to sleep in wagons on these mats that were infested with bed bugs.
Oh.
Yeah, and that they were being forced to perform humiliating and degrading tasks.
Yeah.
What might those tasks be?
Oh, I'm so scared.
I'm sure you want to know. What did the average Muse brother act consist of? They were known as circus slaves. Because they were sold and
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
they
not
had to do whatever
hiring,
and sold
it's
and had to. Yeah, they weren't being paid. They performed bondage in performances.
What?
They were forced to grow their hair out in dreadlocks and to like help sell the like racist things they were being portrayed as.
Oh my gosh.
They were forced to eat raw meat.
Ew.
And not only that, but they were forced to bite the heads off of a live snake to please crowds.
What? And people watched that?
Mm-hmm. It was entertaining to them. You have to think this was a very racist time in history.
Yeah, I mean, think about, it's just crazy to me that humans do this. I mean, like, even in, like, the Roman days when people would watch people kill each other, and then they just watch people just humiliated and, like, bite the heads off of animals, like, make them. Like, I don't...
But you also have to think to them, to the average watcher, these boys are getting paid to do this.
Yeah.
And they want to do this. This is part of
They
their
don't.
act.
They're stolen.
No, they're being told they have to do this.
Yeah.
And a lot of the circuses portrayed them as horrible, horrible things. I'm going to list a couple of them to you. They were like some of the most known ones. They were these wild men, and they performed under the names of sheep-headed cannibals, the ambassadors from Mars, the Ecuadorian white savages, cavemen, monkey men. They were called the missing link between humans and apes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the circus is using people as spectacles and being like so out of touch with, like, this is a human being. Like, they're just excusing it. Sorry. It's so messed up. Like, I do not understand. What the heck?
It is. It's awful. And it's like the stuff that they were for.
It's so sad.
Yeah. They were forced to grow their hair out in, like, dreadlocks to, like, sell it. Like, what? I don't know if I already said that part, but it's like,
they're being like,
yeah,
okay.
They're being targeted as like, basically it kind of encouraged racism. Yeah. So Harriet, we're going to go back to Harriet now.
Okay. Poor Harriet.
Harriet, she had mother's intuition. So in 1927, she had this divine dream that her sons were going to be in Roanoke, Virginia.
What?
Yeah. Since the boys had disappeared, she had a really rough go of it, being a farmer. So she had sold the farm and moved to Roanoke from Truevine. And she became a maid so that she could help provide for her other son and daughter. You know, like, hey, I have these two other children. Children's. I
have these two other children's.
Yeah, I have these two other children's. I need to be able to feed them. Now, some sources say that she saw on, like, a billboard that the circus was coming, and she saw a billboard of them ambassadors from Mars, and they looked like her sons, you know, and so she went there, but that's kind of been debunked almost.
Yeah, like no.
Yeah, just by her own words, really.
Oh, okay.
She herself says she had a dream.
Yeah. That's probably just people trying to explain, like, oh, she didn't have a divine dream. Like, she's like, no,
Right.
God told me, like, that
Yeah.
I had, what are the, yeah.
That my sons were going to be in Virginia.
Yeah.
But it was also like she herself was illiterate and she couldn't read or write. So how
Right.
did she read
And
the
she wouldn't,
ambassadors from Mars?
well, I mean, I guess she would recognize them to an extent because they're both albino brothers, but
Right.
she hasn't seen
Well,
them
and
since they were kids.
about the age that her sons
Would
should be.
Yeah, would be.
So on October 14th of the same year, 1927, the circus arrived in Roanoke. And the brothers, again, they were abducted when they were 6 and 9. They were
Right.
now in their mid-30s.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Forced to do all of this.
Their whole lives.
Their entire lives. So Harriet said, I'm going to go. I'm going to sit front row and I'm going to bring my boys home, which is bold.
Yeah.
Very bold, because Roanoke, Virginia was home to one of the largest KKK chapters in the country. So for her, a black woman, to say, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, and Candy Shelton was a white man. I'm going to go and I'm going to take these sons back
I hope she takes down Candy.
from a white man. It's like, that's not going to go over too well for you, sweetheart. In front of everybody, in the middle of their show, I'm going to go do this. So she went.
Oh, in the middle. Oh, man, she's awesome.
Yeah, she sat front row. She made sure she got that front row seat. And keep in mind, the boys were told, your mother is dead. Your mother has died.
Right.
You're coming with me. So for a while, I'm sure they thought, oh, well,
We're just,
this
yeah,
is
we have
what
nowhere else to
Mom's
go back.
plan was for us,
Yeah.
because, we have no one to go home to.
Yeah.
So the boys were out there. They had the circuses were huge now, so it wasn't just like a stage with people. It was
Right.
like there was tents, and then there was side tents, and this show was
Right.
going on here, and that show was going on there, and that all at the same
Right,
time.
right.
And there's elephants. They were way more
Just a bunch of
extravagant now.
chaos.
So she found their tent. She went. She sat front row, and during the performance, George saw her. And he
Really?
stopped playing, and he turned to his brother Willie and said, quote, "There's our dear old mother. Look, she's not dead." End quote.
He just recognized her that fast, too.
Well, yeah, that was their
Like
mother.
imprinted, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also, it's important to note that the brothers had suspicions that their mom was still alive and that they had been kidnapped.
Once they grew up, I'm sure
Once
they got older, they're like, this is not.
They had suspicions that their mom was alive. And every time they would bring it up and every time they would ask Shelton about it, he would just kind of roll it off. He'd be like, your mom's dead. Shut up. Your mom's dead. Like, you have nowhere to
They're
go.
like, really?
Yeah. So after that, George said, our mom's alive, they dropped their instruments mid-performance and ran up to their mother and were like, reunited. Shelton was pissed. Aww. He was like, the show is going on. They have to, like, you're not going to take them.
Oh, of course he's pissed.
Yeah, you're not going to take them mid-show.
Yes, I am.
So he tried to stop them, and they called the cops. And again, this is very risky for a black woman to be taking something from a white man. So when the cops showed up, Harry explained to them, hey, 30 years ago, I told this man that he could take my sons to work the circus for a couple of months, and I expected them to be returned, and they were never returned.
Right.
Thank God the cops were sympathetic to her, and they said, okay, you're free to go. You're free to go. You guys are free to go. Like, yeah.
Why are you being held here against your will to work? Like that.
Like, these are your sons. He took them.
Yeah.
Take them home. Because she had given up hope. Like,
right.
Like she, and she also didn't have the means to search.
How could
she?
Yeah.
What little means she had already spent trying to search for them.
She couldn't travel all over the place and go, find the circus.
It's not like she could go across the world to go to the circus. And meanwhile, mind you, they were being sold from circus to circus to circus by Shelton.
Right.
So here's a circus. I can go to this one, but
they might not be there.
They're not going to be there because they were sold to this circus 2 months ago.
Right. So,
she went home with the boys. She brought them home. It was a beautiful reunion, catching up, I'm sure. So they, at the time, the brothers were performing for Ringling Brothers.
Okay.
So they filed a lawsuit against the Muse family.
Oh, what? Oh, I thought you were going to say they were
No.
filed a lawsuit against. Dang it.
No.
Man,
Hold on.
Premature celebrating.
But save the celebration.
Okay.
Save the celebration.
Okay.
So they filed a lawsuit against the Muse family because the brothers had a very strict contract and they had to follow it out. They had to follow it through, and Harriet just stole them from
No.
from
her.
her.
You guys stole them from
Ringling Brothers.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure Shelton was all over that. So Harriet said, you know what? Fine. I'm going to go hire this small town lawyer to go up against the Ringling Brothers. At the time, it was a big name. It's a big name now, but it was in the height of their popularity. And she won her son's multiple cases. I'm
gonna say it. She's a badass.
Yeah, she is. Yes, she is.
She's like, I'm taking you guys down.
Yeah. So they did have to continue working for them, but she won the right to back wages and continued pay.
Yes.
So they had to pay them for 30 years
yes.
worth of work.
Yes.
And continue to pay them.
Oh my gosh.
For the work that they were going to continue to do. She won them the right to an allowance to return home in off seasons.
Okay.
And she won them the right to a new contract.
Now they had to keep working though?
Well, they were under contract.
Okay.
Which is a legally binding thing. They signed it. They couldn't read it because they weren't allowed to learn how to write or read, but that's what they won them. So in 1928, after all of this, they signed a new contract with Shelton, and they were rebranded as Eco and Ico. It was still kind of bad because they were still kind of called like the Ecuadorian cannibals or whatever.
Yeah.
But they were known as Eco and Ico. No longer racial names, no longer ambassadors for Mars, no longer savages. They were Eco and Ico. Okay. And again, they had to, so they were still working under Shelton, so.
Did they still have to do all that crazy stuff?
I don't think so.
Okay. So they're doing other things.
Yeah. I think they could do what they wanted to. So. And at the time they were still he didn't discover, I kind of did it in a misleading order. I'm realizing that now. He didn't discover their musical talents until later.
Oh, okay.
So they were forced to do all that stuff. He discovered the musical talent. They still had to do that stuff, but then they also could do the musical stuff.
Okay.
So this began their world tour, and they got to go to Australia, Europe, Asia. They performed in Madison's. Whoa, stroke time, guys! They performed for Madison Square Garden and for the Queen of England in Buckingham Palace.
What? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Shelton, unfortunately, still saw them as his property.
We need to get Shelton out of here.
So while the boys were being paid, they're like mid-30s now.
Yeah.
But while the brothers were being paid, he would still steal. That was hard to say.
Steal
from their wages. So he would skim off the top of their wage.
And they knew.
Yeah,
surely.
I'm sure. But the brothers were being paid, so they still had money to send home to help their mother. And so basically with the money that they were being sent home, because keep in mind, they made $32,000 a day, which is over $1 million.
Dang. And probably by this point, they're probably making more. Or is that
that's the height of their, okay. So they were able to buy their mom a small farm so she could stop having to be a maid she's older at this point.
Yeah.
She's worked a
That's
lot.
what I'm like, she's got to be old.
Yeah. So she could just, live on her farm and be happy.
Right.
Well, so 1936, Shelton loses control of the brothers.
Yes.
So they cut ties.
Let's get Shelton out of here.
They got him out of here. I don't know if they hired a new manager or if they just kind of went out on their own.
Yeah.
But they got rid of him. This kind of made me laugh a little bit. Shelton was forced to become a chicken farmer to make money. Yeah. Yeah.
Too bad we didn't put him in the ring.
I
Make
know.
him eat snake heads.
Seriously.
Like
raw meat and snake heads.
Yeah.
Which
But chicken farmer, I mean, that will.
raw meat is one thing when it's like refrigerated, and like
Yeah, can you imagine how
there,
much?
like like sushi, there's like the proper way to prepare raw
Fish,
meat, but
yeah.
like this was
Raw meat with like infested,
yeah,
disgusting. Who knows what
a
that's
traveling circus.
Yeah.
They don't, yeah.
Maggot.
So who knows how sick they got and never were taken care of.
disgusting.
So in 1942, Harriet passes away.
Oh no, not Harriet.
I know. Well, but she's getting up there. She
Yeah,
had her
she
happy
was-
little retirement on her happy little farm.
Yeah, I'm happy that she got that and her son's back.
Yeah, and she got to see her sons. They got to go and visit on the off seasons and whatnot.
Good.
And so what the brothers did, since they technically paid for the farm, they sold the farm and they purchased a home in Roanoke that they could go back to in off season. Yeah, and by the mid 1950s, the brothers retired from the circus. They had both gone blind. So, which is an unfortunate side effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they would often sit around in their home in Roanoke and tell stories like their extravagant adventures. Quote, extravagant adventures.
Right,
And they
like-
were, but I mean, I'm sure it was fun. I'm
well,
sure
later
after
on,
the fact.
like
but,
yeah, when they could use their like actual like gifts.
Yeah.
Like the music and stuff.
Yeah. 37, 40-ish. I hit my mic and then just put 38. I'm waiting for 38.
No, okay, sorry.
So, like I said, one of them passed away in 2001 at 108, which I mean, that's old age.
Longer than yeah.
And then the other one passed away earlier.
How old was he? But he was decent age too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was 1971.
And they were born in like 1892 or something?
Yeah.
Or one of them was?
1893. George was 1971.
He was still like 78 or something.
Yeah,
like that, right?
so he was still up there.
79, yeah.
And then Willie was 18. So sorry. Got some congestion. He was 1892 to 2001.
Dang.
Yeah, Willie was.
Willie.
I know. He got up there. But so they had a niece, Nancy Sanders.
Okay.
And she has, if you look at the Muse brothers, you'll see the True Vine book.
True Vine. Okay.
It's titled entitled True Vine because they're from True Vine, Virginia. She basically was approached by this
Publisher?
no reporter,
Journalist?
Whew, that was a hard one.
It's hard.
She was approached by a journalist who convinced her to write/construct a book that tells the legacy of her uncles.
Yeah.
And she titled it True Vine because that's where they're from.
cool.
So yeah, that's the story of the Muse brothers.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it's pretty
like
fun. It's sad,
It's
but
really
then it's like
But then, like,
you can read,
yeah.
which I'm gonna get my hands on this book now.
Yeah, it would be a cool book to read. I think it's just like it's like such a sad story, but it's like when their mom like fights for them and wins.
It has a happy ending. It's an inspiring.
Yeah.
It's sad but inspiring
Yeah,
because it's like
it's so messed up.
these brothers were abducted and she didn't see them. She had no proof of life for over 30 years,
Yeah.
but she just knew they were alive. But
Yeah,
she had this divine dream that her
Yeah.
sons were going to be in Roanoke, and then
they kept their faith too. So it's
Yeah.
like obviously she was like displaying a strong faith for the kids when they were that young.
right
To like have them continue.
especially because none of them, all three of them, the mom and the brothers, they couldn't read or write.
Yeah,
I don't know if they learned how to read or write after
Yeah, I'm sure.
they got out of
Probably.
Shelton's control or whatever. But
I hope so.
yeah.
Man, and that's like we were talking about P.T. Barnum, like the stuff that went on was like crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
P.T. Barnum was not a good guy.
Not a good guy. Not the greatest showman. Like he wasn't.
I mean, yes, it's the greatest showman, but
he wasn't. He wasn't.
he
like
was not
what's in
the greatest
movie.
showman. He was no Hugh Jackman.
No, he was no Hugh Jackman. He was like horrible.
Yeah.
Which I don't know a lot about. I just know that he obviously did stuff like this that was like dehumanizing and dang.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
You
happy
guys-
for them though that they got out.
Me too. If you guys want to hear more about Barnum and Bailey,
Yeah.
Maybe we could do a
Circus
episode.
episode, yeah.
Yeah.
I never went to the circus.
I think I went to the circus once when we lived in Indiana.
Yeah, never did.
I saw an elephant. It was pretty dope.
It's kind of sad. Honestly, the circus in general, like now too, like I don't really, obviously way more horrible situation we have going on back in the 1800s. Right. I mean, the fact that you said it was like till 19, when did it like stop becoming that and then become like just like the elephants and
stuff,
lions and whatever?
I don't really know.
I don't know either. Like, how long did they let this go on? Because like even like you said, like 1927, they're still doing this.
Yeah.
And beyond, like I don't know, the circus in general is just kind of like a sad thing.
It is.
Like I don't know.
It really is. I will say I do remember going to the circus and seeing they like had this ball cage. It was like a circular cage, and they put guys and motorcycles in there, and they were all just spinning around in there. And I was like, how are they not wrecking?
Yeah. Oh, like like in like the hamster ball, like in the that's scary. Like that's I mean like the stunt stuff. That's kind of cool. But
stunt stuff is cool, but like I guess ripping the head off of a live snake with your teeth is considered a stunt in the 1920s.
When you're forced to do something like that.
Yeah. That's just not cool.
Yeah. If you guys want to hear more, kind of, I guess like hidden stories of history that, that we can talk about and be like, that's kind of messed up. Like,
or that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Let's not ever not ever become that ever again. Like that's awful, but definitely, I mean, it's like you said, a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Like don't, like what humans can, like even we say in Rome, like watch other people hurt each other and stuff. It's like, let's not do that. Let's let's make that a lesson. Don't do that.
Yeah. Let us know if you have any of those topics or any other topics really, or you just want to say, hey, because you can reach us at lattespodcast@gmail.com or on Facebook and Instagram at Lattes on My Mind.
Yeah.
And don't eat snakes.
Don't. And use your musical skills.
Use your musical skills like I gave you.
Oh my gosh.